Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to another episode of News Toast, where I give you all of the latest gaming news. And PlayStation's head of marketing is claiming that the PlayStation 5's launch lineup is the best in PlayStation history. Yeah, that is a very bold statement indeed, but the question, is it true or not? So stick around and find out as we dive into their launch lineup, including a surprise title that may be coming sooner than what we thought. Also, Epic Games has gotten a pretty big exclusive, but before we get into all that, let's go over some of the quick news first, starting off with Battletoads. Battletoads did launch on Xbox, PC, and Xbox Game Pass today, and reviews have slowly been trickling in. And as of this moment, it's sitting comfortably at a 72 overall score on Metacritic, which is a pretty solid score. Though I don't really think the reviews tell the entire story here. If you start to look into the reviews, it does seem a little divisive, with most really liking Battletoads, and most fans I've been hearing from seem to be loving it as well. I for one have been playing on the hardest difficulty, and I find the beat 'em up sections to be brilliant as they're fast-paced, fluid, and you have to switch to each toad to really take advantage of each enemy. I also like the side content such as the turbo bikes, so I'm just going to say this. I think Battletoads is one of the best beat-em-up games of the last decade, ranking up there with Streets of Rage 4 and River City Girls, which, funny enough, I also think are a bit underrated. It's just one of those genres that critics don't seem to universally love, but I can assure you, if you do like beat-em-up games or retro-style games, then Battletoads is one of the best in the genre. It's certainly one of the most fun experiences I've had in games this year. But I will ask you, if you've been playing Battletoads, let me know your thoughts on it in the comments below. Moving on, it looks like we have gotten another successful remake with Trials of Mana. In a Square Enix Investors Q&A, they revealed that Trials of Mana has significantly passed their initial expectations, which is fantastic news. Trials of Mana is a fan-favorite Square Enix franchise, and I know a lot of fans were very excited to see it return in a more modern way. Once again though, this does go to show you the power of these remakes. I mean, really, when you look back at just this year alone, some of the biggest releases have been remakes. And then when you look back at this generation as a whole, remakes have done very well, whether that be Crash Bandicoot, Spyro, Final Fantasy, Resident Evil, or now Trials of Mana. Fans are absolutely hungry for these reimaginings of classic games, and why not? They're some of the best games ever made, and if companies put the time into them rather than just simple remasters, it can draw attention from new and old fans. The thing is though, with so much success from Square Enix in specific, and the huge back catalog that they have, I imagine we're going to see them do this a lot more going forward. All I'm going to say is Chrono Trigger. Now that would be a very exciting remake. Let's make it happen, Square Enix. In other news, Nintendo made a big announcement for fans over in Brazil. So this probably isn't exactly common knowledge to fans outside of Brazil, but back in 2015, Nintendo actually pulled out of Brazil due to extremely high tariffs on imported electronic devices. Apparently, it's so bad that the PlayStation 4 at one point in time even costed like $4,000 in Brazil, which equates to about $1,500 US, which is just insane. Yeah, it's not a big surprise that this has created a lot of issues selling consoles over there. So Nintendo just stopped, and that's really unfortunate because I'm sure there are a lot of passionate Nintendo fans in Brazil. From what I've been hearing, however, some fans have been importing Nintendo Switches over the last couple years through gray markets, but they are having to pay absurd prices to get them. Well, good news, Nintendo is officially coming back with the launch of the Nintendo Switch, though there still are some questions that remains. As of this moment, we still don't have an official release date or a price, so that does beg the question, will Nintendo once again still be battling those extremely high tariffs? It's certainly possible, but they may have actually struck some kind of deal with Brazil, or they may have found a way to manufacture the Switch in Brazil, avoiding these type of tariffs. This is something that Microsoft does with Xbox, which is why it is much cheaper over there, so it's possible Nintendo did do something similar here. Either way though, this is great news for Brazilian fans, so I'm really happy to hear this. And speaking of the Nintendo Switch, it sounds like the Switch may be getting a new exciting game, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2. Now this is not confirmed just yet, but according to a data miner, in the most recent Tony Hawk demo, the UI for Nintendo Switch controllers are within the game. Keep in mind that only the Xbox, PlayStation 4, and PC have been announced so far. But it does seem like this is a regular occurrence, where some games ends up getting ported to the Switch after its initial release. And for that matter, Activision has done this several times with the Switch, including both the Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy as well as Spyro Reignited. And there is even evidence that this will be happening with Crash 4. So it's certainly not out of the realms of possibility, but you should still treat this one as a rumor until it's confirmed by Activision themselves. It's very possible that this could just be an elaborate fake, but I think this would be a good Switch game, and I think it could perform very well on the Switch. I remember playing these games as a kid, and they were a lot of fun, and I certainly don't think this game is too demanding to be able to run on the Switch, so yeah, I do think this one could end up happening. On to our next topic though, Epic Games announced a big exclusive today, Hitman 3. Now, Epic Games is no strangers to signing exclusive deals for their storefront as they snag these games from launching on competing platforms such as Steam, and now they have gotten a very big one, Hitman 3. Hitman 3 of course launches on January 3rd of 2021 for PlayStation and Xbox consoles, but now if you do want to play it on PC, you will have to play it on the Epic Games Store. The good news is that Epic Games will be giving away Hitman 1 for free through August 27th to September 3rd, but PC fans are a bit mixed when it comes to these type of announcements. A lot of fans would just prefer to play these games on Steam, and that's mainly because Steam offers more and better features than the Epic Games Store. So when you force them to use a different storefront and launcher, some fans can get a little bit upset over this type of news. With that said, Epic also does give away free games, and they do help developers by only taking a 12% cut rather than the industry standard 30%, so developers probably do like that a lot. I've always wondered though, is it enough? Steam is a juggernaut of a platform, and I'm sure developers lose a lot of sales when they don't release their games on Steam. So does that decreased revenue cut make up for the difference? We've been seeing Microsoft games as an example move over to Steam with a huge amount of success after being exclusive to the Windows Store for years, so storefronts do matter for PC gamers. Then again, Epic is probably paying a lot to have that game exclusive to their platform, so they probably do more than okay when all is said and done. I will ask you though, how do you feel about these exclusive deals that Epic Games makes? Does it bother you or not? Let me know in the comments below. Let's talk about the PlayStation 5 though, because we do have a lot to go over here, and some of it is very exciting. Developers have really been praising the PlayStation 5's Dualsense controller, or more specifically, its adaptive triggers. Now, we have talked about this before, and one developer said it felt so good, it was shocking. Well, now we're getting some new details on what these triggers can actually do, so check this out. In Spider-Man Miles Morales, you'll be able to get hints as to where your enemies are through the adaptive triggers. In Ratchet & Clank, depending on what type of weapon you shoot, you will feel different parts of the trigger vibrate. And then in Deathloop, which is probably using these triggers in the most creative way, will block your triggers from being used if your gun jams in the game. Now, how cool is that? Honestly, I could see some fans thinking their controllers are broke when this happens, but truthfully, I do think this is a very cool feature. It also goes to show you that developers are trying to use these adaptive triggers in creative ways. Now, Xbox does have a similar technology with the Xbox One controllers, and it goes by the name of impulse triggers, but from the sounds of it, Sony is taking this technology to the next level. Really, it just seems like Sony has put a lot of technology into the DualSense controller, though it does make me curious as to how much this thing is going to cost. I'm hoping it's going to be a reasonable price and not much more than the DualShock 4, but we'll have to wait and see. Either way, I'm very excited to feel these triggers for myself. They do sound really cool, but at the end of the day, we want good games. Of course, the controller is important, but what about the games? Well, according to Sony's head of marketing, he says that their launch window lineup and beyond is the best in PlayStation history. Yeah, that is certainly very exciting, so when I heard this, it got me to thinking, does Sony have some other surprise announcement for the launch window of the PlayStation 5? He does add the word beyond, but he was talking about the launch window. We do have to keep in mind that this is the head of marketing, so it's not overly surprising to hear him say something like this, creating a lot of hype. But right now they do have Spider-Man Miles Morales, Astro's Playroom, Godfall, and Assassin's Creed Valhalla, so that's a pretty solid lineup, but I don't know about the best. From the way he's talking, it sounds like there would have to be something else, something bigger. Well, speaking of that, the Demon's Souls remake suddenly got rated in South Korea, which signifies it may be releasing rather soon. Could it be a launch title or released shortly after the launch of the PlayStation 5? If it is, then suddenly that lineup does look a lot better. The original Demon's Souls is an incredible game kicking off the Souls genre, and based off of Bluepoint's previous work with the Shadow of the Colossus remake, I'm expecting this game to look gorgeous on the PlayStation 5. There's also some speculation that Gran Turismo 7 may be coming early on for the PlayStation 5, and while neither of these games may be launch titles, if they both release early on, that would be a very strong lineup. With that said, this is still the marketing head, so he might be twisting some things around here for PR, but hey, I do find those Demon's Souls ratings to be very interesting paired off with this statement. If that is indeed a launch window title, that is a huge game, and something definitely worth getting excited for. I will ask you though, do you think that the PlayStation 5 launch lineup is the best in PlayStation history, especially if it includes Demon's Souls? Let me know in the comments below. Anyways though, that's it for this episode, but if you liked the video, don't forget to hit the bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.